In the back of the book, on page 206 and 207, there's a prayer that came out of my own experience, which I call a freedom prayer. This has had a big impact on me and a lot of people that I've shared it with over the years. It's a prayer to help you deal with excessive emotional needs and paralyzing fears, which we all have. Fear is the basic human emotion, so we all got some kind of fear. There's the fear of failure, the fear of change, the fear of the unknown, fear of rejection, lots of kinds of fear. Fear of failure, fear of making a mistake, there's all kinds of fears. And some of them you just work through. I mean, you're good at that. You faced fears before and you work through them, that's fine. But some fears just stop you in your tracks and you cannot move. And this prayer has been very effective in helping people to get free of that paralyzing fear. And the same thing goes with excessive emotional needs. Like we all have the need to be thanked, to be appreciated, to be respected, but it becomes excessive when you'll compromise your values in order to get it, whatever it is, appreciation, a friendship, whatever. So what you do is there's different steps to it, and they're listed in the back here. It's a very simple prayer, really. You have to believe in God. That's number one. But if you do believe in God and you believe in the power of prayer, you simply name the problem, right? Let's say, I have an excessive need to be thanked. Now we all need to be thanked. So you're not praying for that no one will ever thank you again. No, you're praying for freedom from the excessive need for it, so that if you're not thanked, you're not going to shoot the person or write them off your Christmas list or whatever. So you get a sense of balance, the sense of balance here. So the thing is, you name the problem, excessive need to be thanked, let's say, and then, or in my case, I have an excessive need that goes back to childhood. I was the first child of my parents for 7 years, and we lived with my grandparents, my mother's parents, during the war, and I was the only grandchild for 7 years. So what was I? King. Yes. And special. Spoiled. Yes. Yeah. So that stuff kind of hangs around in your psyche over the years and comes out in various ways. So I have, and I'll admit it, step 5 or step 4, I'm admitting it. I have an excessive need to be special. Now, but I've learned through this prayer not to let that lead me or guide me or conquer me or whatever, rule me, right? Then whenever you find yourself in that situation where you're feeling uncomfortable because you're not being thanked, you're not being appreciated, whatever it is, as soon as you realize you're in that space, and it's helpful to be reflective, which I am, then you simply say to God, look, I realize I'm in that space. Please free me from the excessive need to be. Now that could really pay off in a work situation, because if you're in a work situation and you're doing your job to the best of your ability, and somebody doesn't appreciate that, because you're going to run into people who are oblivious and they don't appreciate what you're doing. Well, if you have an excessive need to be appreciated, that's going to throw you into a tizzy. It's going to throw you into depression, might even throw you into quitting. But if you take that and say, okay, God, I know I got this excessive need to be appreciated. Free me from the need to be appreciated by that person.
In chapter 3 of your book, in the section Sin and Salvation, I was interested in Proverbs 9:13 through 18's definition of the word folly, and also the quote from the book of Becoming a Woman of Excellence and their definition of sin. I was just wanting you to elaborate more on that section and more specifically those two books.
On the and your what page? No, your what page are you on?
It's 59.
59. Well, let's go to Cynthia Held first. That's the one, the quote that you're looking at, right? Sin, whatever weakens your reason, impairs the tenderness of your conscience, obscures your sense of God, or takes off the relish of spiritual things. Whatever weakens your reason, or impairs the tenderness of your conscience, which means that what taught is right and wrong, for some reason has been kind of diminished, and you're now doing things that you were told not to do when, by people who were perhaps your parents or other people along the way, teachers, coaches, whatever. Whatever leads you in the direction of harm to yourself, to other people, or to society would be in that definition, it seems to me. Okay.
The Proverbs definition of folly.
Okay, now where's that one? That's on
That's one page back.
Proverbs. A variety of words in the Bible describe humanity's tendency towards the moral negative. Proverbs. The word folly refers to the root of ethical failure. A fool is one who deliberately releases a harmful influence on others. Yeah, well, a fool in that sense is the bad sponsor, the bad mentor. You make sure you get the right mentor who says, no, don't go there, don't do that. You want to be the kind of person that helps others follow the ethical path, right? You want to get to that place where you become a mentor to others.
Where do you believe we are in the present day in our society in these 6 steps?
What a great question. You mean, no, do you mean the valley of the Vegas Valley, or do you mean the world?
Well, yeah, in the world.
Wow. That's a heck of a question, yeah. There's some, every day if you read the paper, every day there's something going on that's not right. And you have to have a real strong sense of yourself not to follow, or not to say, well, everybody else is doing it, so why don't I do it? No, that's going away from your integrity. Really, you meet people, though. I meet people who are really strong in their sense of self, and they look at what's happening around them and they say, I pray for everybody who's harmed by other people's actions, but I'm not going to change the way I am, because this is who I am, and this is where I'm comfortable in myself as a good person.
Can you elaborate more on stage 7?
Stage 7. Stage 7 occurs at the ontological, which is a philosophical term for being, the nature of being, which is deeper than the moral one. For the believer, it is rendering to God that which is God's. Stage 7 involves ultimate moral maturity and involves the possibility of dying for what you believe in, I would add. I'm thinking of Miguel Pro. Miguel Pro was a priest in Mexico during the time of the persecution of the church down there. He was studying to be a priest in Mexico, and then the persecution came and he had to leave, otherwise he couldn't finish his studies. So he went to California, Spain, finished his studies, and then decided to go back to Mexico, even though going back to Mexico meant the possibility that he would be killed. Goes back to Mexico and is saying Mass, doing services in secret because it was against the law. But anyway, he eventually got caught by the police, and he was tried and convicted. And I think the way in which he died is, to me, is kind of a symbol of number 7. So he took, it was a firing squad. So he took He had a Bible, small Bible, and a rosary. Rosary is a beaded thing with a cross on the end. He had each one of them in his hands, one on this hand, one on this hand. And he was given the option of a blindfold, and he said, I don't want a blindfold. And he held his hands out. And when the order was given to shoot, he yelled out, Vivo Cristo Rey, long live Christ the King, and they shot him and he died. Now that's, to me, is 7. That's the ultimate. That's paying the ultimate price. Yeah.
How do you maintain your honesty if you were working for a company? And you know, a lot of companies try to teach you how to bend the rules. We're not breaking the law. We're just bending it a little bit, like, you know, Enron and all these big companies like Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, and you know, the banking crisis and all that, without being a whistleblower and getting blackballed.
Well, you have choices. You may have a choice. If you have a choice to go somewhere else and work, then if I find a company I'm comfortable with, just like a school I'm comfortable with, or a church I'm comfortable with. I'm thinking of a guy I knew in Canada who he said, I want to tell you a story. He said about something that happened to me. I was just out of college, I was married, we had a child. And I went to work for this company. It's the first company, you know, I was all excited. You know, first company, I'm going to save the world. And after being there, you know, maybe a couple of months, his supervisor came to him one day and said, it's customary for us on Friday after work to go with the boss to Hooters. Okay? So now that you've been here a couple of months and we're happy that you're here, we want to invite you to join us. But the invite was it was more than an invite. It was like, this is what we do here. So this guy's really strong Christian. So he goes, this is his first job. He goes home, thinks about this on the way home, thinks to himself, I don't think I can do this. And if I say I'm not going to do it, will I lose my job? So goes home, talks to his wife, who's also a very strong Christian, explains the whole situation to her, and she says, you can't do it. And don't worry, you'll get another job, and God will take care of us. So he goes back the next day, and he tells his supervisor, not angrily, just says, look, this is against my beliefs, and I can't do it, and fired on the spot. Got another job, and when I met him, he was the president of a company. So you have to, in a way, and this is easy for me to say, but in a way, you have to look at the long view of life and not just the immediate, unless it's like I got to eat kind of thing, but to look at the long. Looking at life in the long sense rather than just the immediate gratification kind of thing. Yeah.
The question to you is, it's 2 parts. With integrity and morals and ethics, when you became a priest, did they get stronger, or was it?
You mean, did my integrity become stronger when I became a priest? I think the integrity grows with each time you do something that's a little more challenging than the thing before, and you do it and you get stronger in your sense of self, and then you do another thing, and that's how I've grown.